Hey guys, what's going on? James here. And well, okay, first things first. One, the Maryland shirt's gone. The Bucks polo's back. That's pretty nice. Two, you guys destroyed the like button in the previous video when I asked you guys to like it if you guys were enjoying the series. You know, whenever that happened in the last video. You guys actually have it up to 35 likes at this point, which is making it one of my most liked videos of all time. So thank you so much for that. If you are still enjoying this series, go ahead and continue to hit the like button. And then three, oh my god, it's defensive line time. Jesus Christ. Sorry, I was just a little bit too excited over all the numbers that I was looking at, you know, all the greatness that I was looking at. So, today, we are back with yet another video talking about the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneers of all time, and today, it's defensive line day. So, I'm going to be doing two defensive ends as well as two defensive tackles, because, you know, the Buccaneers have usually ran a 4-3 throughout the entirety of them being a team ever. I don't think they've actually ever had a 3-4. I'm probably wrong on that one, but I decided to go with a 4-3 look today, and that's how I'll be doing the linebackers as well. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get started with the first defensive end I am going to be talking about. And oh boy, oh my gosh, this is going to be one heck of a video stats-wise. It is Simeon Rice. Honorable mention goes to Greg Spires, but Simeon Rice is going to be the first guy, and quite honestly, out of all four guys I'm going to mention, I think he's the third best, by far. He's the third best. Out of all four of these defensive linemen I'm about to mention. But yeah, Simeon Rice was drafted in the first round in the 1996 NFL Draft, and he actually, fun fact, did not play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to start off his career. He actually started off his career with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, he was coming in at 6'5", weighing in at 268 pounds, so right kind of around where you want to see a defensive end weighing. He's definitely got the height. He's definitely got the height at 6'5". That's a pretty tall defensive end, and it showed. Former Super Bowl champion in 2002, three-time Pro Bowler in 1999, 2002, as well as 2003, a four-time All-Pro in 1996, 1999, 2002, and 2003. He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1996 with the Arizona Cardinals, and he played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2001 all the way to 2006. Now, during this time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he had less than 11 sacks once during his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was in his final year with the team before he would go off and play for, I believe, a couple of other teams, and then he would eventually retire. But it was his final year with the team, and he was injured the entirety of the season. I think he only played a couple of games before he had to be put on the injured reserve, and then that's the only season. He had 11 sacks with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every other year he played. Oh my gosh, why don't we have this now? But enough of me crying over the fact that we don't have a Simeon Rice on our team right now. Well, actually, let's wait until we see what we have with Jason Pierre-Paul and Vinny Curry. But I want to talk about his all-time stats with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and just overall what kind of player he was. So he was obviously one of the faces of this Buccaneers defense. You know, after Tony Dungy came in, the Buccaneers became, honestly, they have been since the existence of their team. They've been a very feared defense, you know, all the way back to 1976 when a certain player was drafted, you know, the first overall pick for the Buccaneers franchise. You know, ever since then, the Buccaneers have been known for having pretty decent defensive linemen, and Simeon Rice was keeping up that kind of pedigree, I guess you could say, in the early 2000s to late 90s with guys like Tony Dungy and John Gruden as his head coach. So for all-time sacks, Simeon Rice actually ranks in at number 3 with 69.5 sacks. That's pretty darn impressive, especially when you consider that he didn't play his entire career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh my goodness. Like I said, he only played 6 seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2001 all the way to the end of 2006 season, so that's actually pretty freaking ridiculous that he had 69.5 sacks during that 6-year career. That's like, he's averaging more than 11 sacks a year. Oh my gosh. Anyway, he's third in forced fumbles all time with 19. When you kind of look at it like that, like forced fumbles, looking back at the numbers, the Buccaneers didn't exactly have that impressive of numbers just overall for forced fumbles, but 19's not bad. You know, definitely could be a lot worse. And then he's actually third in all-time tackles for defensive ends. When I was looking back on the numbers, I had to differentiate between, like, just in total of all players who have ever played defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because obviously you're going to have linebackers and defensive backs. We're going to have way more tackles than defensive linemen. But in terms of his overall defensive ends, he's actually third all time. Again, he only played for the Buccaneers from 2001 to 2006. That's pretty freaking dominant. But anyway, he played in 87 total games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which ranks 59th all time. He played in less than 100 games, and he had all of these numbers. Like, dude, I don't... Why is this man not in the Hall of Fame? Seriously, I could make a whole video talking about why Simeon Rice isn't in the Hall of Fame. He wants to be in the Hall of Fame. A lot of people say he should be in the Hall of Fame, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Enough of my rambling about Simeon Rice and him getting snubbed for the NFL Hall of Fame. It's time to move on to the next defensive end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's Leroy Selmon. You know, I wish that I could go in a time machine, take all these guys, you know, put them in the same year, and just have, could you, just, our freaking defensive ends would be Simeon Rice and Leroy Selmon. Ugh. So, like I said earlier in the Simeon Rice section, Leroy Selmon was the first overall pick in the 1976 NFL Draft, the first pick ever by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization, as they had just become a team in 1976. Leroy Selmon was their first guy that they picked for the team. That's so great. That's so cool. Leroy Selmon, he has his own restaurant. It's shutting down. It sucks. It's sad, but he's still awesome. You know, he's 6'3", 256 pounds, so a little bit height-wise, yeah, in my opinion, he's built perfectly as a defensive end. Maybe you want to see him like at 6'4", 6'5", but in my opinion, 6'3", 256 pounds, that's fine. That's obviously very manageable, as Leroy Selmon proved to us. But he played his entire career at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 1976 all the way to 1984. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that Leroy Selmon did not go off to another team and like go do other stuff, because he's so cool. He's so cool! But anyway, Leroy Selmon was a 6-time Pro Bowler from 1979 all the way to 1984. Just let that one marinate for a minute. He was a 5-time All-Pro player. So he had 3 more Pro Bowls than Simeon Rice did, and he had 1 more All-Pro than Simeon Rice did. I'm just saying. He was the 1979 Defensive Player of the Year. Let me backtrack real quick, okay? Like, most of the time when you think of, like, Defensive Player of the Year, you know, you think of, like, maybe a linebacker will win it, or maybe, like, a cornerback. No, it was Leroy Selmon of the 1979 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know, a defensive end. J.J. Watt's kind of like that now, and J.J. Watt is a freaking monster. So, like, was Leroy Selmon the J.J. Watt of his time? No, there was actually a lot of really nice defensive lineman during that time. But for the fact that he won the 1979 Defensive Player of the Year, that's just so awesome to me. And he also doubled up on it by winning the 1979 Defensive Lineman of the Year as well. Now, like I said earlier, you know, Leroy Selmon was kind of the, the first overall pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a team. So you can imagine that he was kind of the face of the Buccaneers franchise during the beginning stages of them being a team. Because, you know, he was kind of, how should I put this? You know, the first pick ever of them as a team. What are you talking about? So, fun fact about Leroy Selmon, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1995. Because why not, am I right? But breaking down his stats, Leroy Selmon is a special player to me. He's a special player. You can make a solid argument about Leroy Selmon being the best Buccaneers player ever. Like, ever. The best Buccaneers player ever, Leroy Selmon. You can make a legitimate argument for that. I'll leave that up to you guys, whether or not you feel that that's true or you think it's somebody else, like other guys who will probably be in this list in the future. But let's go over the numbers. So, Leroy Selmon he is first in sacks all time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 78.5. He's first all time. Leroy Selmon, 78.5 sacks, but there's one guy that's actually very, very close to him, but I'm sure we'll get to that eventually. He's actually first in forced fumbles as well with 28.5, so, ooh, that's, 28.5 sacks, 1976, 1984, it's pretty good, Leroy Selmon, dude. Leroy Selmon's pretty good. And tackles, I'm sure you guys want to hear this one too. He's third all-time. Leroy Selman is third all-time in tackles with 742. He's first in defensive ends. Of course he is. Like, just holy crap, okay? If Simeon Rice is third all-time in tackles for defensive ends with 206, the difference is over 500 between Leroy Selman and Simeon Rice. That's, oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous. I'm losing my mind over these. I told you guys, like, I've lost my mind over these stats. They're tear-jerking, okay? They're beautiful. And just to top it all off, Leroy Selman played in 121 games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which ranks 15th all-time. You know, 121 games, 78.5 sacks in those 121 games. No biggie, am I right? 28.5 forced fumbles, 742 tackles. 742 tackles. Oh my goodness. That's literally insane. But moving on to the first of the defensive tackles. Now, you remember how I said earlier that there's kind of a guy that you can debate is the there's a couple of guys you can actually debate like as best overall Tampa Bay Buccaneer all time. You can debate. This is the first defensive tackle on the list. It's Warren Sapp. More crazy numbers are coming our way, guys. Don't you worry. So I'm gonna have to calm down. Warren Sapp was drafted in the first round of the 1995 NFL Draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Don't you worry. He played a few years in Oakland after he left the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 1995 all the way to 2003. That's pretty nice. 6'2", 350 pounds. Does that sound familiar? Vita Vea. But anyway, he is a Super Bowl champion. He won in 2002 with Simeon Rice. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler, so he has one more Pro Bowl over Leroy Selman. He's a 6-time All-Pro, so he has one more All-Pro over Leroy Selman. He was a 1999 Defensive Player of the Year, and he only had less than 5 sacks once during his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a defensive tackle, keep in mind. And a 6'2", 350 defensive tackle at that. Only less than 5 sacks once in his career with the Buccaneers, and it was his rookie year. It was his rookie year, so whatever. I'll give him a pass on that one. Oh my. So Warren Sapp was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2013, and his Buccaneers all-time numbers are pretty impressive. He actually ranks second all-time in sacks for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 77. So Leroy Selman, comparing him to Warren Sapp, they're pretty close. Honestly, if the Buccaneers wouldn't have gotten rid of Sapp, they would have kept Sapp, he would have beaten it. He would have had the most sacks of all time, so just for whatever that's worth. In forced fumbles, he ranks 5th all-time with 15. That's all-time, by the way, so I don't know. And in tackles, he's 13th all-time, just for the entirety of the team, and he's actually first for defensive tackles with 307. So, like I said with Simeon Rice, Sapp was just this leading, just crazy dominant force for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. And like I said, from the beginnings with Leroy Selman all the way to currently, the Buccaneers have usually been known for trying to build up strong defenses. Strong defenses is the Bucs' motto for the most part. Starting all the way back with Leroy Selman and coming all the way up to guys like Simeon Rice and Warren Sapp, and now with the guys who are currently playing with the Buccaneers, like, hopefully JPP and Vinny Curry, and maybe somebody else who's on this list. It's just this, Bucs try and have this dominant defensive line, and Sapp kept that trend going with guys like Simeon Rice, guys like Greg Spire, stuff like that. Rice and Sapp were just scary how dominant they were. It was actually ridiculous. They dominated all the way to the Super Bowl when they just killed the Raiders, and it's scary how good that Rice, Selman, and Sapp were. It's especially Selman and Sapp. Like, it's ridiculous, man. But moving on to the last player, the best defensive tackles, best defensive ends, the last player that I'm going to talk about, and he's still playing, and I made a whole video about this guy. It's Gerald McCoy. I love Gerald McCoy. I'm sure you all love Gerald McCoy too. and he was drafted in the first round of the 2010 NFL Draft. He is 6'4", weighing in at 300 pounds. Now, I made an entire video talking about Gerald McCoy, but let's talk a little bit more about Gerald McCoy, because I can do it all day. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler. He is a 6-time Pro Bowler, I guess I should say. He's still playing. He is a 4-time All-Pro. He's been playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2010 all the way currently to 2018. So he only has one less Pro Bowl than Sapp. He only has 2 less All-Pros than Sapp. He's been the face of this Buccaneers defense since he was drafted back in 2010, and he's only had 2 seasons where he's had under 5 sacks since he's been drafted, which was his first 2 years. So, is this sounding familiar? Kind of like Warren Sapp-esque stuff? I don't know. You guys be the judge of that. But in my opinion, Gerald McCoy, I would say, he's the second best defensive tackle ever for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The way I see it, it goes, Leroy Selmon's the best defensive end. Simeon Rice is the second best defensive end. Warren Sapp's the best defensive tackle. Gerald McCoy is currently the second best defensive tackle. Depending on how the rest of his career goes, we'll wait and see on that. But like I said, he's been the face of the Buccaneers franchise since he's been drafted. Just a defense, I guess I should say, because now kind of Jameis Winston's taken the mantle as face of the franchise. But going over his all-time Buccaneers numbers, I guess you could say, he's actually 4th all-time in sacks with 48.5. So it's a pretty big jump between Simeon Rice and Gerald McCoy. But hopefully with time, maybe Gerald McCoy could maybe get to number 3. I don't know. He has a very big. He might get to number 3, but getting up to Selman and Sapp's numbers, I don't know about that one. But still, 48.5 sacks, 4th all-time, that's pretty impressive in my opinion. He is 16th all-time for forced fumbles with 6, so he doesn't really get the forced fumbles that you would see with guys like Selman, Rice, and Sapp, but still, 16th, it is what it is. And then for tackles all-time, he is 26th with 201. So, pretty darn impressive in my opinion. And actually, Gerald McCoy has played in 109 games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which ranks him at 26th all-time for overall games played. So he played more games than Rice. He's played almost as many games as Selman, and he's played almost as many games as Sapp. Actually, I'm stupid and wrong. Sapp played in 140 games, which ranks him 9th all-time for games played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I guess I should have mentioned that in the Sapp part. I'm sorry. I was getting too excited about all these numbers. So Sapp has actually played the most games out of all these guys. So, it goes Sapp, then Selman, then McCoy, then Rice. So this is a pretty dominant defensive line, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm just saying. But let me know what you guys think about these rankings, I guess, down in the comment section below. Do you agree with the top 2 defensive tackles and top 2 defensive ends of all time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or do you feel it should be somebody else? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinions about it. What do you think about Leroy Selman, Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, and Gerald McCoy? In my opinion, if you put those 4 together in their prime, that would be pretty good. So again, let me know what you think about all this down in the comment section below. I do hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope you are enjoying this series as well. If you are, go ahead and hit the like button. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified whenever I upload, live stream, all that fun stuff. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys. See ya.